Hi, this is Vicky.
And Ruben, from Family Life Explorers.
So we are continuing our trip and we just left Babinda Boulders. Our idea was to drive all the way up to Darwin, and in between we wanted to visit 2 national parks. Limmen National Park with the beautiful rock formations and Kakadu National Park, where we wanted to see more crocodiles. We knew it would be a lot of driving because we were planning to drive all the way to Limmen in 2 full days, and we had 2 nights of camping in between. So a very good tip is to stay at the Barclays Homestead. After many hours of driving through a beautiful landscape with nothing, sometimes you cannot even see further than the horizon. There was just a lot of cattle around, and the landscape would change from brown colors to green colors. It was absolutely amazing. And after hours of driving, we finally arrived at the Barclay Homestead for a relaxing evening and night. And the biggest surprise was that there was a live band and there was great food. They had beers, they had a great atmosphere there.
I will walk 500 miles and I will walk 500 more.
So after lots of driving, this was a perfect place to rest. So we would recommend everyone to stay at the Barclays Homestead. Then we made sure we had enough food, enough water, because we were about to enter Limmen National Park, which can only be accessed by 4-wheel drive. There are many, actually only gravel roads, and packed up our stuff, fueled up, and we entered the national park. Limmen National Park is a beautiful park with many beautiful campgrounds. We really wanted to go to the southern lost city, which has amazing rock formations and a great hike to do. But unfortunately, we could not book that campsite, so we decided to book the next campsite, which was Butterfly Falls. It's basically the only place where you can actually swim in the water there, because there are no crocodiles there. So we booked that spot for 2 nights, and we were on our way to camp there. But on the gravel road, unfortunately, hit the fan.
Because on the road there, not only the gravel road, but also many creeks. You drive through a shallow piece of water, which looks beautiful. We made amazing shots and had a beautiful film, as you can see here. But unfortunately, we didn't do that correctly, because after a few minutes, we heard rattling noise from the engine, and after 10 minutes, there was smoke coming out of the engine. So we decided to stop. We're a little bit in panic because we were 100 kilometers away from the nearest town and 40 kilometers to go to the campsite. And we didn't bring any satellite telephone or any other way to reach the other outside world.
Which was probably stupid.
Which was probably a little bit stupid. And the biggest challenge is that we had only seen 2 cars that whole day on the road. So we were kind of lost and a little bit in panic. We waited for half an hour to have the smoke cleared from the engine and tried again. But unfortunately, after 3 kilometers of really slow driving, there was smoke again coming from the engine. And now we were in real panic. So we had to stop the car again. And luckily, after 20 minutes of waiting, there was a couple coming our way in a big car. They stopped for us and wanted to help. This couple stopped on the way and asked how they could help us. And they also told us that they had a Starlink system, which we could use to access the internet. So when we could access the internet, we saw that the southern lost campsite, which we actually wanted to book, was closer and only 8 kilometers away from where we were stranded. So we decided to go there and try our luck, because it was fully booked, so more chance to get some help. But even these last 8 kilometers took us about 1.5 hours to complete, because we could only drive for a few kilometers, then had to pause the car again, wait for a bit till it cooled off, then we could drive again. We were even, in our last break, we were 200-300 meters away from the campsite, where the couple was already with their caravan. And Vicky and the boys walked the last bit while I waited for another 30 minutes to start up the car again.
When arriving at the campsite, we understood why we couldn't book the campsite, because it seemed like that the whole campsite was burned down. They closed it for bookings, actually. You could still do the beautiful hike to the rock formations, but we and the other couple were the only ones there to enjoy the beautiful vibe there. That same evening, we called our road assistants to pick us up, but unfortunately they could not send a tow truck to us because the evening was already starting and the tow truck could not drive all the way down. It would come from the north. It could not drive the 6 hours down and back up with us during the night. In Australia, there are a lot of kangaroos and other animals. It's very dangerous to actually drive, so they couldn't help us that evening, and they told us to call back the next morning. We stayed there for the evening. We made some dinner. We set up our rooftop tent where Ruben and I would sleep in and the kids would sleep in the car for that evening. We went to bed. Obviously, we didn't sleep at all, and we tried to call road assistance again early in the morning. And the first thing we did the next morning was call road assistance. They already made a file for us, so the process went a bit quicker. But then road assistance also has to arrange a lot of stuff with a tow truck. And apparently there was a problem because the road was not yet cleared, which basically means that the road is safe enough for the tow truck to drive all the way to us and get us. There are also certain weight limits going on. So road assistant told us that they were not able to come and get us. So we asked how long it would take, and they said that the road first had to be cleared. So we asked how long that would take them to arrange that, and they said it can be like a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks. They didn't know. So basically, we were told just to wait until the road was cleared, and we were like, huh, but we only have food and water for just a couple of days, and we would, of course, never make that. And we were stuck in the son-in-law city campsite with no other people around. The campsite was closed. We were not on the road at all. There was nothing there, so it was actually kind of scary and not fun at all to be there. The lovely couple came with the idea to call the ranger of that area. So we called Limmen National Park, and we got the ranger of Limmen on the phone, which was Reece. And Reece was such an amazing person. He told us to relax. He would be at the campsite in less than 2 hours, I think 1.5 hours to pick us up. And his idea was to first pick us up, leave the car there on the campsite, stay at the ranger's house for one night, and then we'll figure it out tomorrow.
At the campsite, we actually already said goodbyes to the couple from Sydney, and we promised to see them again, visit Sydney later this year, because without them, we would be totally lost. I wouldn't have known what to do. Ranger Reece came to pick us up in his truck and brought us to the ranger station. The ranger station is actually a small complex with a few houses on it where the rangers sleep. And the rangers take care of the whole national park, actually. Reece was the only ranger there because his colleague got into an accident 6 months earlier and where he broke his leg in the Limmen National Park. So that was unfortunate for him, but very lucky for us because we could stay at his place. And since he didn't come home from his trip, there was cans of food, fridge full of beef, which we didn't use actually. We brought our own food, but it was still like he never left. And there were a few beds we could use, a lovely warm shower. So we stayed there for the night, and we were actually really happy that we could stay somewhere safe and weren't stuck in a campsite. Reece wasn't only amazing because he picked us up and we could stay at his place, but he also knew the tow truck service in Mataranka who were supposed to pick us up, and he called them and was in contact with them continuously to discuss what to do. And he knew the road was already graded, so a bulldozer comes over to make it flat so you can travel on it again. And they all knew that this was the case, but Reece called the Department of Transport and asked why it wasn't cleared yet, and the guys simply told them that they forgot to do it. So we could have been stuck for ages at it, and luckily Reece called them and got it cleared within the day. So now the only thing for us was to wait till the tow truck would leave the next day, early in the morning, and we could pick up our car. Luckily, at the ranger station, there was so much to do. They have a visitor center where you can learn about the nature, the environment, also about the history with the Aboriginals and the Europeans coming in. And in the ranger house, there were many books about the different kind of animals, the species, also about what to do with bushfires and how to control the bushfires. And we learned about crocodiles and the crocodiles at Butterfly Falls. There was a book of yoga, so plenty to do. And there was also a dog and a rooster at their place. The rooster wasn't really friendly. It was a kind of an odd duck, and the last day, actually, just before we left, it also attacked one of our boys. So he has quite a few scars out from the rooster.
So the ranger, Reece, also told us that it's a couple of times per year that accidents happen in Limmen National Park. Usually people will run out of fuel. Indeed, something happens with the car and they don't have a satellite phone with them, like us. He even told us a story about 2 German girls who were stuck in the wet season at Limmen National Park. And then they were basically stuck between the 2 rivers with a flat tire, and they couldn't fix the tire themselves, unfortunately. So they were very lucky that the bulldozer, who always grades the roads in the national parks, came by. Luckily, he saw the girls and he just put the car on top of the bulldozer and dragged them through the water, so they were safe. But those scary, scary stories happened in the park and people got lost. There was also another story where this guy was luckily just 40 kilometers away from the ranger station with a broken car. And he decided to walk himself all the way to the ranger station in very hot weather. So he was always walking in the evening or night and took a rest in the morning. So yeah, that was actually also our plan if we would be stuck there in the middle of nowhere to walk or yeah.
100 kilometers.
100 kilometers back. We absolutely know how to do it because Ruben always runs a marathon every year and I'm able to complete an Ironman. So we were not afraid of the physical part of that.
But we have 2 kids, of course, so it would make it a little bit difficult.
Right, and that was actually the most scary part because we had the kids with us. The next day, gladly, the tow truck was supposed to pick us up, but obviously something had to be arranged with our insurance and that took forever and that was not arranged yet. So we called again around noon. By then they couldn't arrange to get the tow truck to us anymore because obviously the evening was very close and the trip would take 6 hours. So we arranged first with our insurance to give an approval so they can come and get us. And then we knew for 100% sure that the tow truck would come the next morning and he would drive away at 6 or 7 in the morning. We had to stay one more night at the ranger station and the next day we were 100% sure that the tow truck would come and get us safely.
Day 4 at the ranger station. Luckily, we were in contact with the transport service and they told us that morning at 5 o'clock, the tow truck had left the town and was on our way to us. So at 11 o'clock, he was supposed to be at the ranger station. Exactly on time at 11 o'clock, the tow truck chauffeur was at the ranger station, ready to pick me up actually. And together we would go to our car to pick the car up and bring it back to the ranger station. We would pick Vicky and the kids and then drive back. But of course, our next adventure would begin. Together we drove off to get our Toyota. And it was about an hour driving towards the lost city campground. Everything was fine. It was fun to chat with the dude. However, about 2 kilometers before the campground, there was a little stretch of very loose sand. Our Toyota was able to get through it. Days before, because we have a 4-wheel drive, of course, and it's a small car, and the tow truck chauffeur thought he would be able to do that as well. But he wasn't. So he went full speed through the sand to arrive at the other side. But he got stuck before he got halfway. So now the tow truck who was supposed to tow our car was stuck. That's bad. He got out of the car, kind of cranky, and tried to pull his own car out of the sand. He didn't manage to do it very well, and we had to shuffle, and eventually I even got our Toyota, who was able to drive for a little bit because it was cooled off. I drove it through the sand, through the creek, in front of his car, and tried to tow the tow truck with our Prado. But of course, it was way too light, so we didn't manage to get it out at all. So we were kind of stuck and we don't dare to drive through, but now the tow truck who was supposed to rescue us is stuck and we are towing the tow truck, kind of, because it's stuck. After I think about an hour and a half, 2 hours of going forward, backward, shoveling all the sand away, another guy came along with a stronger car and also a tow cable and trying to help us to get the car out. Together, the 3 of us, and a little bit of luck, we were able to get the tow truck out of the sand, put it on the street again, and eventually put our car on the tow truck, ready to pick up Vicky and the boys to go to Mataranka. So the whole adventure that was supposed to take a few hours took us 2 hours more.
And so the kids actually fell asleep, and by the time Ruben came, I already figured something happened because it took so long. But I was very happy and excited to see the tow car driving to the ranger station. We entered the tow truck and we quickly started to drive because we still had 6 hours to drive to Mataranka. And we would probably arrive there between 8 and 8:30, which is already pretty late. We didn't have any booking yet for either a caravan park or a hotel or motel or anything. So on our way, we had to stop at another campsite where they had internet connection, so we could quickly make a booking, and also the driver could make a quick phone call because he would arrive very late in the evening as well. And luckily, we found a caravan park, Territory Manor, where we could stay that night. So the car driver dropped us at the Territory Manor, where we would stay for that evening, and the next morning we would go to the mechanic. Territory Manor is really a beautiful and great caravan park to stay. That evening there was even live music. We just were able to see the last bit of it, and we had some nice pizzas before we went to bed. We were super, super happy to be back in a city or a little village where there were many other people. There was phone connection. We were hoping there was internet connection, but you will not believe it. The internet connection was down for the next 12 days at that area because one of the telecom things were broken down. So we were stuck with no internet connection, nothing. At least we could make phone calls, so that's a good thing. And there were other people around, so that was also nice.
Next morning, early in the morning, we went to the mechanic, to the garage that also picked us up with the tow truck. For a quick investigation, they found out what was wrong with our car, and it was completely self-inflicted. Apparently, you shouldn't drive too quickly through the creeks, also not to make beautiful photos, because we broke 2 of our blades of the fan that cools the radiator. And one of those blades actually hit the radiator and broke it. Because we broke 2 blades, the fan didn't turn good anymore, and also the hub where it's fixed on was broken. So it has to be replaced. So we had to have a new fan, new radiator, and also the new hub. Not a good thing, but luckily they were able to fix it, and they were able to order the parts, which would arrive there in 5 days. So again, a reminder for us that the country is huge and everything takes a bit longer to get compared to our own country where everything is pretty nearby to each other. But we could wait for another 5 days, at least our car would be fixed.
We were actually very lucky that it was just 5 days because most of the mechanics here in Australia, especially in the ports where there's nothing else, are pretty busy. So we were very lucky that they could help us. We decided to stay at the Bitter Springs Caravan Park, which is actually very close, walking distance to the Bitter Springs. You have 2 springs in that area, the Bitter Springs and the Mataranka Springs. But the Bitter Springs is a more natural hot spring, and the Mataranka spring is more like a swimming pool. It's more made, kind of. Our recommendation would be to also go to the Bitter Springs. It's absolutely gorgeous. The water is very blue. It's very warm. It has a little bit of a stream, so you enter the water and the stream will take you all the way to the other side. There you get outside the stairs and you can walk back to the beginning. So please bring a noodle. If you don't have a noodle, just buy one. You can buy them at every supermarket, or every caravan park there in that area. They will have the noodles for you, so please bring it so you can really relax. Even for a good swimmer, the noodle is absolutely fantastic. Our kids really love to swim. We also saw a couple of turtles in the water. The best thing is to go early in the morning when there is no one. If you go later in the afternoon, it will be very, very crowded with a lot of people. So early in the morning is best to go. So this was actually not a bad place to be stuck at. We went to the hot springs every single day, sometimes twice a day in the morning and in the afternoon. It was very relaxing. We really were able to get our breaths back, to relax, calm down after this amazing adventure, which did not end yet.
After 5 days of waiting at the Bitter Springs Caravan Park, we went back to the mechanic because they would fix our car. So now actually we're at the campsite of the Territory Manor again. We brought our car to the mechanic and have to wait for tomorrow till it's fixed. Hopefully everything is all right and we can pick up our car and continue our journey. but we will talk about it later in another video. For tonight, we're gonna have some pizza and there's live music again on this campsite as well. So it will be fun. And tomorrow we'll pick up our car and continue.
All very exciting adventure. We will keep you posted about what's next. We also don't know. So if you like our videos, please give it a thumbs up below and follow our YouTube channel.
Subscribe.
Subscribe.
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.